Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. We're talking about Babylon 5, but I'll let you know before we get started that there is a wasp in the studio. I saw him fly away. I don't know where exactly he is, but if I should get up and dart away, that's the reason. Anyway, Gray 17 is Missing is the name of this episode, and this is interesting. We learned some things about Babylon 5. Now, we know that its sections down the length of the station are color-coded. The green is, I think, where the diplomats are, and the blue is where the command area is, and they have different colors. And gray apparently is mostly industrial stuff, and we learn that each section has 30 decks. Except for gray. Gray apparently only has 29, and one of the technicians said, well, they just made a mistake in the drawings and they only put 29 decks in this section. Garibaldi didn't believe them, and when a maintenance person turns up missing, he goes and tries to find out what happened to that 30th deck, which turns out to be deck 17. What was deck 17 was actually deck 18, and everything was relabeled on the way down. Now, the whys and the wherefores of all of this and how it becomes significant in the story, we'll leave to you, except for the very ending when Garibaldi is trying to describe all of this to the captain, and it sounds about as far-fetched as the whole idea of the story. My guess is that when J. Michael Straczynski was writing this, he thought this is kind of a silly story, but we'll go ahead and throw it in and just justify it by having Garibaldi try to say out loud what it's all about to the captain and get this look from the captain like, really, you're just fooling around, weren't you? Now, the main story on this is, of course, Sinclair, who has been the ambassador on Minbari Prime, is now stuck in the past on Babylon 4. And that leaves us a way out of... We don't have a commander of the Rangers anymore, the number one Ranger. And the head of the religious caste comes to Delenn and says he wants her to be the new number one Ranger. And of course, there are some people in the warrior caste that are not very happy about this, and that drives much of the story. And there is some tension in this because the fact of the matter is there are a lot of characters on this show, and some of them do die off. And so this is something that is most interesting. By not putting one of the main characters in the breach, we know that this person is expendable, and so it adds to the tension of it in a fight scene that's later on in the show. And I kind of like the resolution of that as well, where everybody kind of questions themselves. It almost ties in with the B story, really, in that everybody knows that they're a part of the machine, and sometimes they let their egos get away from them, and that is something that is not good for anyone. It was also an incidence of Chekhov's gun. This is a theatrical trope, if you will, in which if you introduce a gun in Act 1, you're going to need that gun in Act 3. Or if you're introducing anything like a piece of technology, this actually will allow you to stay underwater for an hour. Well, somehow in the story, you're going to need that by the end of the show. And this was a case literally with a gun that Garibaldi had that belonged to his grandmother and is a family heirloom. And he explains to Zach just how it worked and why they don't use them anymore. I think Zach called it a slug thrower or something like that. And it's kind of a nice little aside there. There's a good bit, especially in overly dramatic episodes. The comic relief is always welcome. And as usual, it's Garibaldi that provides a good deal of it. So that's the story, and our take on it, of course, is that just about everything that J. Michael Straczynski has written is pretty golden. And in this case, I think that they played out the suspenseful elements very believably. I think that while we knew how the overall story was going to end, we certainly didn't know what was going to happen to certain characters. And we did get a peek at Dr. Franklin, who is still in withdrawal from STEMS and wants to be left alone, which is kind of setting the stage for getting into real big trouble. He's going to have to be rescued out in a few episodes. So we look forward to that. So that's Babylon 5 for this week. If you have comments, please put them below. We read every one and we answer most. And of course, if you have not yet checked out our other channel, which is Ron on Retirement, you can go there by either just putting in the YouTube search bar at Ron on Retirement, all one word, or you can click on this box right here. And until then, thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Deep Space Nine. Don't go far.